Hello, I am Regina Jackson, Interim CEO at the Center for Environmental Health. Welcome to our virtual town hall entitled The Great Indoors, Keeping Your Home Free of Toxics. CEH is a nonprofit that is dedicated to protecting people from toxic chemicals using science, policy, litigation, and purchasing power to create real, tangible wins for public health. You can support our work by texting GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 510-288-3065 or by going to ceh.org/donate. We would like to thank our generous sponsors today, LinkedIn, Naturepedic, and Trillium Asset Management, with additional support from Stacy Marshall. Thank you to our speakers today, Veena Singla, Senior Scientist, NRDC, Leila Behjat, Architect and Senior Researcher, Parsons Healthy Material Labs, Jimena Díaz Leiva, Science Director, CEH, and Karen Wang, Healthy Building Consultant and the founder of Because Health. During the town hall, please feel free to ask questions via this chat, and we will gather them for the Q&A portion. Please use hashtag CEH Town Hall when tweeting about this event. The town hall is being recorded and will be posted on our website tomorrow. All right, let's get started. So before coming to CEH in late June, I served as the CEO of the East Oakland Youth Development Center, a national youth development model for over 25 years. My reference point for toxic chemicals was Juul, the e-cigarettes full of toxics. I saw how Juul designed a sophisticated marketing campaign to attract minors like my students in East Oakland by convincing them that e-cigarettes are safe, while developing a highly potent, addictive product to keep them coming back. I am so grateful that CEH was the first to reach a legally binding, court-enforceable agreement with Juul, thereby mandating restrictions on their marketing and advertising to children. So I knew about Juul, but I had no idea about the other toxic chemicals in our homes. Things like flame retardant, phthalates, and lead drift out of normal household items. They often settle into dust all around the house. That's why I'm so excited to learn from the speakers today, who will tell us the do's and don'ts of creating a healthy home and how we can stem the tide of unnecessary industry-created chemicals that find their way into our homes. Our first speaker is Dr. Veena Singla, Senior Scientist at NRDC. Veena aims to create healthier indoor environments by limiting the use of toxic chemicals in the built environment and everyday products. Her research focuses on understanding how toxic chemicals threaten the health of vulnerable populations, including pregnant women, children, and workers, through an interdisciplinary approach incorporating environmental health, exposure science, public health, and policy expertise. Take it away, Veena.
Thank you so much, Regina, and thank you to everyone on the call that's taking the time to engage with this important topic today. I'm very happy to be here with you and with this panel of amazing women. So, what do you see when you look at a product like this? I see many things. First, I see another argument with my partner when I tell him not to buy products full of toxic chemicals. Obviously, I don't always win those because here we are. But look at this. So, extremely flammable, harmful or fatal if swallowed, vapor harmful. But wait, there's more. the fine print on the back of the bottle. Exposure may cause neurological or other damage. Product contains chemicals known to cause cancer, birth defects, or other reproductive harm. So these are major concerns for whoever is using this product, but there's a whole nother world of harm wrapped up in this little bottle that you can't see or read on the label, but it's still very real. So I'm going to tell you that story. And it's a story that starts with pollution and ends with pollution. It starts with industrial facilities that manufacture the toxic chemicals that go into this bottle. And these facilities generate harmful air and water pollution to the tune of often millions of pounds every single year. Workers in these facilities, people who live near these facilities, they eat, breathe, drink, and absorb this pollution to the detriment of their own health. Now remember the health harms that were listed on this bottle: neurological damage, cancer, birth defects, reproductive harm. Now imagine that you were the one working with those chemicals day in and day out, or live next to a factory that spewed them into the air and water. Now that's the reality for many people. And the other reality is that these impacted communities are disproportionately low income, or people of color, or both. Now think about what happens when this product gets trashed. I know it's supposed to go to household hazardous waste, but that doesn't always happen. It might go in a trash bin and then to a landfill. And the chemicals leaking from that product impact waste management workers and communities near landfills. Again, disproportionately communities who are low income, or people of color, or both. Now, so far, this is a very depressing story, but the good news is that it can have a happy ending, because when you choose safer products without toxic chemicals, you're not only protecting yourself and your family, you're preventing harmful pollution along that entire product life cycle that I talked about, from production to use through disposal. And if there's one thing that you take away from this discussion today, I want it to be this: that your actions make a difference because they have an impact far beyond your own home. So thank you so much, and back to you, Regina.
Thank you, Veena. Now that we know the landscape of toxics in our homes, and that example was right on target, thank you. Let's start talking about what we can do about it. Our next speaker is Leila Behjat, architect and senior researcher at Parsons Healthy Materials Lab. In recent years, she's focused on renovation with healthier building materials. Welcome, Leila.
Thank you so much, Regina. So I'm going to pull up my presentation. Can everybody see this? Great. It's fantastic to be here. Thank you so much, Regina, and thank you for everybody for being on this panel together, and to our audience. At Parsons Health Materials Lab, we aim to make human and environmental health pivotal in all design decisions, foremost in affordable housing. However we live and whatever place we call home, we're seeking a structure that provides protection from the local environment. It's a fundamental need, and definitely as a mother of 2 children, that's a lived truth for myself. Shelters are as old as mankind, and our homes were places of refuge and protection. Unfortunately, today, they're also spaces of exposure. The question is why? We used to build with natural, locally available materials and methods. Over time, though, new technologies made our shelters more weather and pest resistant. materials became more efficient with the help of synthetics. And today, most of the common building products are made from petrochemicals that contain harmful chemicals. In majority, these chemicals are not tested and hence kind of unpredictable in their impact on human health. And the number of tested or restricted chemicals fades, as you can see here, against the tens of thousands of chemicals that were grandfathered in the 70s under the Toxic Substances Control Act. And now we find these untested harmful chemicals inside our home. And these days, that also means that our indoor air can be more polluted than our outdoor air. And we also see more correlations. The scientific research called the Exposome Project identifies that the environment we live in over the course of our lives triggers 90% of human diseases, and genetics determines only 10%. So we can conclude that, like food, environmental elements such as materials impact us. These first slides aimed at giving context to our contemporary lives in our homes, and there are pathways to creating healthier spaces. So whether we are a tenant or a homeowner, and also whether it is a new build or a renovation of some sort, as stakeholders, we can ask questions, ask for healthier options, and ask to consider the health for humans and for the planet. For example, asking the landlord or the super of the building for information on the products that are being used. These types of questions and then selections can help make change. To gain some kind of basic orientation and knowledge of the chemicals we are dealing with, we recommend these short videos about chemicals to avoid, grouped into 6 chemical classes. We collaborated on making them with our partner at Green Science Policy Institute. I think we'll share the link later. And then, ideally, we develop the habit of finding out what's inside every material to know what we're dealing with. So the first question is, what is the Caesar stone countertop made of? We know nutrition labels for food, and Veena also showed some for a product. Like here for these Doritos, we see the different ingredients and can then make a more informed decision on whether we do or don't want to eat it. And thankfully, these types of ingredient disclosures are now emerging for building materials as well. And so here are these ingredients for the Caesar stone countertop I asked about earlier. Of course, it might seem that there's so many materials to consider in our home. We can take it one step at a time. For example, 5 surfaces in our room will most likely need paint, and flooring usually at least equals the square footage of our home. Now, within flooring, LVT, luxury vinyl tile, has become ubiquitous, and while, of course, we're aware of all the advantages this product seemingly has, it is full of petrochemicals that harm us and all involved in making, using, and disposing of it. And we're in luck that Jimena will speak of this more, as CH has phenomenal research and proof for the great harm this product causes. When we know what the product is made of, we have a chance to identify whether it has harmful ingredients. And then we can find a healthier material to substitute. Like here on the right is a flooring made with linseed oil instead of PVC. In our work at the lab, we search the market for healthier alternatives and list them on our website. And of course, the market offers better vinyl options that avoid some chemicals. We'd still say the best vinyl is no vinyl. Paint. The most commonly used interior paint is called latex or acrylic. Both are made with plastic resin, so essentially it's liquid plastic, and these paints commonly include substances that can carry hazards harmful to our health and to the planet. And alternatives can be natural paints made from minerals like lime or clay, or from plants like linseed oil, wall tile here on the right can also be an option, or mineral-based paints that contain potassium silicate. And our collection shows alternatives as well as acrylic, as you can see. Today, this is still, let's say, a kind of generous nod to the industry with a very big encouragement to move away from paints that are plastic, after all. An interior material palette can drastically minimize potential toxics. We can avoid petrochemical-based flooring, paint, and finishes, and by that, decrease off-gassing and avoid chemicals finding a home in our spaces. Material health is a way of thinking, and it can be incorporated into everyday life and in every home. And it starts by asking questions, one of them being, what is it made of? And I hope that this call to action can be of use as well. We are continuously researching at the lab, and I invite you to check out our resources at healthymaterialslab.org. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop share now.
Wow. Thank you, Leila. I'm so glad that you brought up the PVC flooring, or so-called the luxury vinyl tile. Our next speaker is going to take us in on a deeper dive into the problems with PVC flooring and what alternatives are available. So please welcome our science director at CEH, Dr. Jimena Díaz Leiva.
Thank you, Regina, and thank you all for being here today. I'm going to be talking about luxury vinyl tile. And while this name may sound very appealing, in reality, luxury vinyl tile is just plastic flooring, and specifically PVC plastic. And although vinyl flooring is billed as a healthy and cheap flooring option, it harbors a dirty secret. Manufacturing vinyl flooring releases enormous quantities of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into our atmosphere and uses highly toxic substances and chemicals like asbestos, mercury, and PFAS. You're all likely very familiar with vinyl flooring at this point. It's everywhere, from home makeover programs to the aisles of every major hardware store. And every year, more than 5 billion square feet of vinyl flooring is imported into the US from major manufacturing hubs. And many of you, like me, might even have vinyl flooring installed in your homes. And I'm here to tell you, please don't go and rip those floors out right now. So while the production of vinyl flooring uses and releases toxic chemicals and substances, the flooring in its finished form isn't thought to pose a health risk, although there remain some concerns around the presence of trace amounts of lead and phthalates that still may be in these finished products. We're currently working at CH to investigate these claims as part of our broader work on luxury vinyl tile. So if you're considering installing vinyl flooring in your home, there are some things you should definitely know. Fundamentally, vinyl flooring is a mixture of a fossil fuel, either coal or natural gas, and chlorine. And our demand for vinyl flooring in the United States is driving environmental harm, both locally in places like the Gulf states and abroad in places like China. And the impacts of pollution from vinyl flooring production cross borders, as for example, toxic mercury emissions circulate around the globe, and carbon dioxide is released during manufacturing and contributes to our global climate crisis. So in addition to the greenhouse gases released from vinyl flooring manufacturing, there are 3 toxic chemicals and substances that are used to produce this flooring that might be familiar to some of you. These are asbestos, mercury, and PFAS chemicals. You might have thought that asbestos had largely been phased out of use in the US because it's a very well-known carcinogen, but the United States still allows chlorine manufacturing industry to continue use of asbestos. And PVC manufacturing is the leading consumer of chlorine in the United States. As recently as 2021, the US Environmental Protection Agency declared that the industrial use of asbestos in chlorine production posed an unreasonable occupational risk to workers because of exposure to asbestos fibers. The second class of chemicals I want to talk about are PFAS chemicals. You probably started to hear about them everywhere. These chemicals are often called forever chemicals because their characteristic bonds are extremely stable and don't break down over time. And they're used in a wide variety of products to impart water resistance, grease resistance, and nonstick properties. And they're used in PVC production. And particularly, we know that manufacturing hubs across the world use these filters, PFAS filters, to produce chlorine, which is then used again to make PVC. So PFAS chemicals, including the ones used in chlorine production, are a highly toxic class of chemicals with more than 12,000 known chemicals. And exposure to PFAS have been associated with a whole host of adverse health effects. Some of the best known are increased cholesterol levels, kidney cancer, liver damage, and they're also known to be endocrine disrupting chemicals. Finally, this third substance that's commonly used to produce vinyl flooring is mercury. So mercury emissions from vinyl flooring production can enter the atmosphere and be transported over long distances, where they're redeposited on land and in waterways. Mercury is well known for its effects on the nervous system, the brain, the kidneys, and the cardiovascular system. And mercury exposure is especially dangerous for pregnant women and children, as methyl mercury can pass through the placenta and the blood-brain barrier, affecting the neurological development of kids. So I want to reiterate that the major health concerns from PVC flooring are not, particularly to consumers, but are actually borne by the workers and individuals living near manufacturing and waste facilities. We know that these workers and communities are also those that already face multiple threats, from things like climate change, from a lack of access to adequate health care, and from co-exposure to other hazardous facilities. We also now know that the production of vinyl flooring in one region in China also implicates human rights abuses, as Uyghur populations are forced to work in vinyl flooring production. The work of Laura Murphy, Jim Villette, and Nairola Alima helped to uncover these human rights violations. And if you're interested in learning more, their report, Built on Repression, offers more information. So while luxury vinyl tile may be cheap to its users, it is costly and decidedly unluxurious to the workers, surrounding communities, and to our collective health. Those that bear the burden of environmental pollution and occupational exposure due to the demand for vinyl flooring are communities that already face many environmental threats. So we hope that when you're thinking about the cost, you're also considering these true costs of vinyl. And one of the things we want to leave you with are, alternatives, because everyone always asks, so what else can we purchase? We recommend, if possible, keeping the flooring you have in place or refinishing your existing hardwood flooring, considering purchasing healthier flooring alternatives like linoleum or ceramic tile instead of vinyl. And we have lots of resources available in supporting those purchases. On our website, you can find a healthier flooring purchasing guide and a link to Green Health approved flooring, which is another great resource. And our final recommendation is just to avoid buying other PVC-based products where you can. Some examples include vinyl siding, vinyl window treatments, and vinyl blinds. So thank you.
Whoa, I'm learning so much. I hope the rest of you are too. Wow, thank you, Jimena. Now that we know how to avoid this plastic flooring, what else can we do to limit toxic chemicals in our homes? Thankfully, our next speaker is an expert. She's an expert in science communication with an endless supply of tips for each of us to make a difference in our health at home. Dr. Karen Wang is a sustainability building consultant for new construction and renovations, and she's the founder of Because Health. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much, Regina. Let me okay, got my slides. Thank you so much for having me here today, and thank you to all the other great speakers. So we've been talking about the built environment, and we've been hearing about some things like flooring, paint, insulation, but the built environment doesn't stop there. Humans bring a lot of things with us when we move in. And today I'm going to be talking specifically about furnishings and products that we use to maintain the homes or offices that we live in. So furnishings are furniture, fittings, other decorative accessories that we use to live and decorate our homes. And that also includes rugs, curtains, soft goods like that. And products that we use to maintain the home, of course, include cleaning products, disinfectants, paints, adhesive, caulks and sealers, and even pesticides. So common toxics that are found in furnishings include many of the things that the other speakers have talked about. Flame retardants, which can be found in foams and electronics, for instance. PFAS, those forever chemicals. I like to call them Teflon-like chemicals, since most people know what Teflon is. They can be found on fabrics or on sealers for porous stones, such as marble. Phthalates, which can be found in vinyl, for instance, on this counter stool right here. A lot of times you find that. Oh, did my slides disappear?
Yes,
What happened? Sorry.
we're working on it. Why don't you continue?
Let me try again. Can you see that now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. Okay, so where was I talking?
Would
Vinyl.
you like to start over?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, formaldehyde, which can be found in adhesives for particle board or plywood. Solvents, which can be found in a lot of wood finishes, and lead, which can be found in a lot of old paints, like on this vintage trunk or in vintage brass. Common toxics that are found in maintenance products can be phthalates, which are commonly found in fragrances and cleaning products. Solvents such that can be found in degreasers and other wood finishes. Other VOCs, which people talked about in paints, sealers, adhesives, finishes, and also cleaning products. PFAS, which is in a lot of sealers to kind of make things, waterproof or water resistant, and antimicrobials, which are found in disinfectants and pesticides. So you've heard a lot about what is bad out there. So I like to focus on some positives. So here are some references for what should you choose when looking for furniture. So for upholstered furniture, such as couches, chairs, and ottomans, you should look for furniture that is chemical flame retardant free. And if a company tells you that they are using the better flame retardant free chemicals, which I have heard many times, that doesn't really exist. Starting in 2020, no new furniture with flame retardants in California can be sold. But I have actually found instances where furniture can be shipped, and so much furniture is shipped now into California. So it's not a guarantee. You should ask. And if you own furniture that was purchased before 2015, most likely does have flame retardants in the foam. You should also look for upholstered furniture without stain-resistant coatings. Sometimes they're called performance finishes. Commonly, you'll see like someone's have like a white couch in an ad, and then they'll spill a glass of wine on it, and it beads up. So that's usually they've added basically a PFAS finish on it. So it's better to stick to natural materials like wood, linen, cotton, wool. What I do say though, if I have 2 small kids, so if you are looking for something that it has stain resistance, it's probably better to look for a synthetic fabric like a polyester fabric versus using like a stain resistant coating on a natural fabric. For wood furniture, the issue there is VOCs enough from the particle board or plywood. Solid wood has less. You can also find particle board and plywood that is carb phase 2 compliant, low or no added formaldehyde. Even on places like Wayfair, they will list sometimes the carb phase 2 compliant. And you can look for low VOC wood finishes. 2 of the symbols here: Green Guard Gold, or SCS Indoor Air Quality. And many of the retailers will say, Green Guard Gold. I was recently shopping at Pottery Barn, and they have a lot of Green Guard Gold, furniture. So you can definitely find it out there. Other soft goods, look for natural fibers. For rugs, avoid synthetic latex. The backing of a lot of rugs and carpets is basically like a synthetic latex. You can find healthier alternatives now, like jute and cotton. And the same thing, none of those PFAS finishes. Oh, what happened? Sorry, I don't know what is happening. Let me try again.
We'll just keep going, Karen. It's okay.
Yeah, it just keeps cutting out. But here we go. Okay, vintage furniture. Look for if it has vintage paint, you should probably repaint it or refinish it. A lot of vintage paint has lead. Vintage brass can contain up to, I've seen, like 20% lead by weight. And for marble and other porous stones, look for unsealed if possible, if they're in an area where they're not experiencing a lot of like eating or things that could stain that furniture. And is it paused again? Maybe someone else can pull them up, because I don't know what's happening. I'll just go on. For cleaning products, you should look for cleaning products that are, a good place to start is fragrance free. EPA Safer Choice is also a great label, where they basically screen every ingredient that goes into the cleaning product for human health effects. And there we go again. Sometimes looking for biodegradable or bio-based is also kind of a good first clue for safer cleaning products. Disinfectants are, really top of mind right now because of COVID and, other respiratory viruses. Look for active ingredients that are healthier, like hydrogen peroxide, lactic acid, citric acid, or ethanol or propanol. The EPA also has a great safer disinfectant label called Design for the Environment. Traditional disinfectants like bleach and quats come with a lot of harmful health effects. There, are some studies showing that it can damage your lungs, if you're using them regularly, almost like you're smoking cigarettes. For adhesives and sealants, you can also look for those signs, the Green Guard Gold or SCS Indoor Air Quality. Leila mentioned for the acrylic paints, look for low or zero VOC or APE free. And I think that she has a source she's going to share. And you can't see my slide, but maybe CH can send them around. There's a lot of DIY cleaner recipes or recommendations that you can find at the CH site. CH now it has Because Health as part of their website, but you can go to becausehealth.org. And I, in my slides, have a recipe for a glass cleaner that is really great. I've tested it against any other commercially available glass cleaner, and it works better. It's just a little bit of hot water, vodka, and cornstarch. So yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, you can check out my work at inhabitwell.com. And looking forward to answering your questions.
Thank you so much, Karen. Who knew that vodka, cornstarch, and hot water would be the answer to all of our cleaning needs when it comes to windows and I guess walls, right? Wow, this has been so incredible. I am having a painting project and now I'm going to have to change what I was thinking about. This is just such amazing information. So let's start off with some questions. I mean, you know, we've heard time and time again from our community and the public, how and where can I find safer furnishing products? Karen has told us the how. Now, hopefully we can find out the where. Whomever would like to answer this question, please feel free. Karen, did you want to hit that one or no?
Sorry, could you repeat the question again?
I'm sorry. How and where can people find safer furnishing products?
Yeah, generally I'd say the first thing to do is to look for, is to ask questions like Leila said. Just ask what it's made of, where it's made. And, you know, certain things like if they say that, you know, this is mainly a particle board shelf, then, you know, that's something that maybe you should think, oh, okay, maybe I should try something else. There are some companies like actually like IKEA that has a well-published chemicals policy. So there are some retailers that you can kind of trust them to screen their products. But yeah, I'd say the number one thing is to ask questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Karen. So we have a question from the public. It goes like this. My house is 120 years old. What specific steps can those of us living in older homes take to make our homes safer? And whomever would like to address that, please feel free.
I can start, and then we
Knock
can
yourself out.
we can all yes. I really love this question, and I'd say it really depends on how far, you know, back you go. Obviously you could go back all the way down to the load bearing structure. The insulation can be very impactful, and then I think as we all of us presented, it's a matter of asking questions, being concerned about your indoor air climate. So the materials that you choose, making sure that they avoid off-gassing. And as I mentioned earlier, and also Karen was saying, I think the most important thing is to not feel overwhelmed. One thing is already great, and very impactful can be the walls. So, you know, the paint you choose, as well as the flooring. And then, you know, whatever other areas in terms of who's living in your space might affect you. So if it's small children, what are they going to touch a lot? Because they do this a lot, all the time. And so whatever, you know, makes it into their mouth is what potentially harms them most. But I don't know, maybe Karen or Veena, maybe you have more things to add.
Yeah, I would probably say for me, for a house that's that old, lead would probably be the number one top of my mind. So, you know, lead was used in paint. So if there's any old paint that's exposed, chipping, things like that, I think it would be a really great idea to take care of that. Either paint over it, or you can hire people who know how to deal with lead. And then the other area lead was used a lot was in drinking water, in the water supply lines. They used lead solder to join a lot of pipes together, even if the pipes themselves were not lead. So that would, to me, would be the number one thing to look for.
Perfect. I have a question from YouTube, unless anyone else wants to jump in on that question.
I'll just add on to
Okay.
what Karen said is there's filters, there's water filters that are approved to reduce lead concentrations in drinking water that you can install in your sink. So you know, that's a way that if you do have lead concerns for drinking water, to get safer drinking water without having to replace the pipes. And I'll also mention making sure that you have working bathroom fans that exhaust externally, and make sure you turn those on whenever you bathe or shower, and leave them on for about 20 minutes after, to help make sure that it doesn't get too humid in there. That can promote mold and mildew growth. And then the same with using your kitchen venter hood. Make sure you have a working hood that exhausts to the outside, and use it whenever you cook, especially if you have a gas stove.
Thank you so much, Veena. I swear I am adjusting my habits as we speak. This is incredible. So thank you to our external audience. We've got questions coming in from YouTube. This is a long one. How long does it typically take for products to off-gas? Months? Years? Do they ever stop? In a newer home, how do you recommend reducing or removing potential toxins? So it's a twofer. Who wants to go for that one?
I can take it because I work on this kind of stuff a lot. So VOCs, they're volatile compounds, meaning that they usually off-gas the most and it pretty quickly. However, there are studies showing that some of it can last for years, and it's kind of unknown. A lot of you know, different products that we use for sealers or stains and things like that, the manufacturer will say, oh, it's fully cured within, you know, a month, but there's actually no real definition of that. And there's nobody like kind of looking and tracking whether or not that's true, and, you know, doing the tests necessary. So it's really hard for us to say without, you know, looking at the specific product about how long. Generally, it is the majority of the off-gassing happens quickly.
Excellent, thank you. Here's another question from YouTube. How are schools and public buildings doing in relation to these chemicals? And are architects aware? Who'd like to get that one? Okay, Leila, you got it.
You know, with schools, what comes to mind for me is actually mostly the maintenance schedule, because no matter what the shell is made of, it depends on how it's maintained. And you know, we have we're shown very good sources from Karen in terms of, and actually from Veena, in terms of what you can and cannot use. So that is just very profound, that if, let's say, the architect is aware and has used healthier materials and products, you know, has avoided LVT or some kind of PVC flooring, then the next question is, how are you going to clean it, and how are you going to maintain it? How are you going to fix it? And it's only fair to say that the maintenance crews also need to be in the picture, you know, being in the know. There's what was the intention. I don't want to speak to whether architects are aware of or not. There are definitely offices that are aware, and we need more to be aware of these topics.
Thank you, Leila. We've got a question from Facebook. What is being done to help people transition from gas stoves to electric, especially for those with limited means? I see you nodding your head, Leila. You want to try that one too? No? Okay.
It's just a really great question, no, but I'm passing it on to my dear colleagues.
Okay, dear colleagues, who wants to chop at that one?
I'm happy to start on this one. Yeah, I agree. It's a really important question, because as I mentioned earlier, gas stoves are a contributor to indoor air pollution. And if you have a gas stove, use your venter hood, open the window. This really helps, just improving that ventilation. But ideally we do want to move from gas stoves to electric, both because of the indoor environmental quality impacts and because of the climate impacts. Combusting fossil fuels in buildings is actually a major contributor to climate warming emissions. So in terms of that transition, I'll mention a few things. The Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed recently, contains some major investments and incentives in helping people transition from gas to electric stoves, as well as move space heating, so like heating systems and water heating systems, to electric as well. So there's rebates available for homeowners and building owners, and there's a whole portion of money targeted for low and middle income as well. So those programs will be starting up in the next year, and there'll be these kind of incentives and rebates available from at the state and local level. So I definitely encourage people to keep an eye out for that. If you are in a position to replace a stove or water heater or heating system, you can get some really good support from that federal money coming down through the Inflation Reduction Act to help you do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Veena. We're going to flip back to flooring. Here's a question from the audience. What is the safest flooring? I want to upgrade to wood-like flooring. Real wood is so expensive, so I was looking into laminate or vinyl, but worry that they may be more toxic. Who wants to take that one? Jimena, are you our flooring expert?
I'm really not our flooring expert.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to throw you out there.
PVC, but one of the things that we've been suggesting is definitely linoleum or ceramic base, but I realize that doesn't have that, wood look. So if others have suggestions.
Okay, thank you.
You can get engineered wood that where some of those things I talked about, like the CARB 2-phase compliant. So you can, engineered wood tends to be cheaper than solid wood, and a lot of times you can use it in certain applications, like with radiant floor heating and other things like that, where you can't really with solid wood, because solid wood contracts and expands more. And you could just, ask, the same thing that Leila said, like ask questions about it, like ask about, what can you tell me about the indoor air quality about the engineered wood? Like, what are the adhesives that are used to make the engineered wood?
Thank you so much, Karen. We have just a few more questions before we come to an end. So one was, how do you make the home safer for children with asthma? Who'd like to take that one?
I can start on this one. Another really great and important question. So I think the good news on this is that we have a lot of evidence that reducing asthma triggers at home makes a big difference to helping manage children's asthma and giving them less asthma attacks and less severity of those attacks. So and the specific triggers will depend on the individual. So some people are more triggered by dust, for example, compared to strong odors, and it may be the other way around for other people. So there's a variety of known triggers. I'd say dust and dust mites is a big one. Keeping the dust and sources of dust down in the home. Pets with fur or feathers, also another known trigger, as well as pests like cockroaches and rodents. And there's some really great resources available from University of California, San Francisco, as well as the American Lung Association, which I think we can share out those links that give some really great tips on how to address some of these asthma triggers in the home. And I'll say the two things I mentioned earlier about having a working bathroom fan and making sure to use it will be helpful here too, because it'll help keep moisture down, prevent the growth of the mold and mildew, which can be an asthma trigger. And then using your Venner hood when cooking, because again, helps keep down the strong odors or other byproducts of cooking that can be asthma triggers.
Outstanding. So my note to sons are keep the exhaust fans on in the bathroom. Keep that air moving around. Thank you.
Mention a nice free thing that everyone can do is to take their shoes off before you enter the home. So, we've been talking about what's in the home, but every day when you go outside with your shoes and you're walking around in parking lots, sidewalks, a lot of people then wear these shoes in the home, and a lot of toxic chemicals or substances are brought in on the bottom of your shoe. And then that mixes with everything else that's in the home. And then, as Leila said, like if you have kids, they're eating it or you're breathing it. So that's one thing that everybody can do, which is to take your shoes off. My other favorite thing is, instead of using a feather duster, just get a cloth that's damp and dust that way. So that's another free thing that everybody can do here that would not only make your home safer for children with asthma, but a home safer for anybody.
Well, we love those freebies. Thank you so much. We're going to do possibly two more questions. Why are so many chemicals that are banned in the EU allowed in the United States? Anyone want to tackle that?
Yeah, I'm happy to give my perspective on that. One of the main problems has been the federal law that Leila referred to in her presentation, the Toxic Substances Control Act, or TSCA for short. Also an opera, but this one, the Toxic Substances Control Act, not so lovely. So it was first established in 1976 and just widely recognized to be too weak, didn't have any teeth to regulate chemicals. So I'd say that's the root of some of our current problems. And the law was reformed in 2016. So that's an improvement. The progress has been slow, but we are seeing some movement, especially under this administration, on assessing and moving to regulate harmful chemicals. But the EU has had a much stronger chemicals regulatory program for many years. So I'd say that's one of the main reasons they're far ahead of the US of being more protective against harmful chemicals.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is such a powerful discussion. Go ahead.
If I may just add, thank you, Veena. And I feel that, if we had 70,000 or 80,000 chemicals in the 70s, you can imagine that there's so many more now. And it just, it's at this point such an avalanche of chemicals, which again, this Green Science Policy Institute approach to kind of grouping chemicals together and say, these groups are harmful, and not trying to deal with every single one individually is great progress. I want to say that one thing to give courage to everybody is that right now, actually, to Veena's point, the US is making great strides forward to some extent, for example, with PFAS, almost even a little more courageous than the EU. The EU is kind of caving a little back. And so the US is, pushing forward. And I do think, I feel like all of us here trying to put forward what we know so far and then widening the circle of people to kind of ask these questions and claim that they want health for their families is so potent in this.
Thank you so much.
And I want to add that like local and state, regulations make a big difference. So California just passed a law that in 2025, those PFAS chemicals, you won't be able to buy couches with that on there. And so while, you might not live in California, if you think about it from a retailer perspective, they're not going to make, a couch that can be sold just for California and one that's sold in another state. So that, that's also kind of the importance of things at a more local or state level.
Thank you for that. As we get ready to wrap up, I wonder if each of the panelists could share one final thought in whatever order you like. Okay, I'm going to call you out. How about Karen?
I saw there was another question about air filters, so I'll just say that, the air purifiers that you buy, those filter out particulate matter, so like little minuscule particles that you breathe in. They don't necessarily filter out VOCs. So, some air purifiers will have a carbon block that kind of absorbs some of those VOCs, but it's, if the outside air quality is good, the best thing you can do is get fresh air in your home. So open those windows, crack them, see if your HVAC system has outdoor air. And if, a lot of people are now dealing with wildfire smoke, it is a good thing to, if it's smoky outside, then to close everything up and to either have an air purifier, or you can replace the filters on your furnace.
Excellent. Thank you very much. One final thought, Veena.
Thank you. Yes, I just leave everybody back where I started, and that this can seem like an overwhelming problem, but the steps that you take, to really do make a difference, and not just for yourself. It makes a difference that throughout this whole system we've been talking about. So taking one step, even a small step, is beneficial and has an impact. So you can't fix everything at once. It is overwhelming, and there's these easy, free, kind of low effort things you can do, like taking off your shoes when you come in the house, keeping dust down, with the damp cloth, and wet mopping and vacuuming. And I'll add one more free, easy one, is washing your hands often and always before you eat. And that's great for many other reasons. And it'll reduce the amount of chemicals that you're absorbing and accidentally eating significantly.
Thank you. Jimena?
Yeah, I really like what Veena said about not being overwhelmed, because I think it's very easy, not just with our indoor home environment, but with all of the, questions and topics that we're being bombarded with constantly about toxics everywhere. So to me, I think I'll reiterate the point that many have already made, that ask questions when you're considering new things to buy or replacements or improvements within your home. Do your due diligence and your research about particular ingredients and chemicals and products, but importantly, ask questions, and CH is always a resource too in that regard, in terms of, providing advice.
Thank you so much. This has been such a powerful discussion. We're going to be sharing some follow-up resources and ways you can take action in the coming days. We thank each of you for being here with us today. And if you enjoyed this town hall, please consider supporting our work by texting GIVE to 510-288-3065, or go to our website at ceh.org/donate. Thank you again to our speakers and our sponsors, and we wish you all a wonderful day. And Leila, I forgot Leila. How could I forget Leila? One final thought, Leila, please.
Everything was said, but I'd say, you know, on top of it, ask for transparency. Just ask what things are made of. Thank you. But most of all, it's fantastic to be part of this panel.
Appreciate all the freebies, all the excellence. Thank you so much.